So first off, I'll welcome you to the Empowered Senior Speaker Series. You've blown me away again today. We've got many more people here than I anticipated, but that's wonderful. It's great to see that there's so much interest, so much support, and we're happy to be here to accommodate the needs in our community. So just welcome, as I said, to the Empowered Senior Speaker Series. This is a free monthly session for seniors and their families. We cover topics that are related to senior and retirement living, and clearly we've got the right on, so you are in the right place. It's not about, what's that game called? The new game. Not tent, like pickleball.
Bingo.
Sorry, pickleball. Pickleball, that's kind of, we're here. I'm Marion Goard. I'm a real estate broker with Keller Williams Edge Realty. I work primarily with folks like you. I help with later in life moves and estate sales, and it's through my experiences and working with folks like you that I've learned that there's a lot of need in the community, that there's lots of information that people are looking for, and it's not always the easiest to find. You can be confident that what you hear in our setting will be accurate, reliable, and come from competent, compassionate, and caring senior service providers. So I'm happy to see a full room of people and welcome you to join us for future sessions as well. So just the show of hands, please, who is here for the first time today? Lots of new people, that's great to see. And as I said, we welcome you to come back at our future sessions. We'll have lots more going throughout 2026. What else? Lisa, you asked me to say some other stuff.
Sharing papers.
Oh yes, so because we've got more people here than I had planned for, if you if there's need be, please share, if you're a couple, please share the document with someone who may be short, might need one beside you. I think we've got a few people up here that could use some handouts.
Anybody have any extras they want to hand over?
Anybody who needs a handout, if you don't, put up your hand before we get going.
Okay, anyone need?
You need.
Okay, while Lisa and you are doing that, I'd just also like to extend my thanks and appreciation to and introduce our educational partners. These folks are all in the senior service business. They all come from various professions, and they provide different types of services. And it's with their support that we're able to put these sessions on for you monthly. So they'll let them introduce themselves. We'll start here with Sarah.
Good afternoon, my name is Sarah Sunnix. I'm a funeral director with Smith's Funeral Home. We're a family-owned funeral home here in Burlington. We also have a location in Stony Creek and Grimsby. I was actually reflecting today or this week about how many of you that have come into the funeral home to review your plans, have come in to ask questions, have emailed, have called. So I'm just so grateful for this group because I think we're really helping to get people more information and the ability to be able to ask questions, which I think is so important. So my job is pre-planning. I do help people get things done ahead, and then I help afterwards with Canada Pension Benefits and Executor Checklist. So please ask me questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Kim Rutledge, and I am the sales consultant for Vistamere Retirement Residence in South Oakville. And I'm also here to answer any questions that you might have with retirement living. And I have lots of education with us today with calculating the costs of current living and thinking about how to manage long-term in terms of affordability. And also proactive versus reactive. So a really great education piece that I could give you today that'll just help you think about a few things in terms of how to be proactive. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Meredith Joachim. I am a hearing specialist just around the corner on Maple Avenue with Hearing Well Matters. So anything to do with your hearing or your ears, whether that be wax removal, hearing aids, anything like that, cleaning and servicing, I am happy to be of help. If you have any questions, please come over and let me know.
Good afternoon, my name is Adrian and I'm here with my colleague Lisa. We are with Chartwell Retirement Residences, and one of the questions we get, I would say our number one question is, how much does it cost? So just so you know, Chartwell is a very transparent company, and you can look and find our prices on our website at chartwell.com under Suite Plans and Pricing at any of our locations across Ontario and Canada today. So if you're looking for that information, you have access to that on a daily basis. I would also like to encourage you, if you enjoy holiday markets, Chartwell Martha's Landing, just a short distance from here, is hosting a holiday market on Saturday, December 6th from 1 to 4 p.m. So encourage you to stop by and enjoy the holiday market.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Russia. I am the owner of Polycare Burlington. We provide services in home healthing as well as in home care.
Hello, my name is Jennifer and I'm here with Pam from Compassionate Care Collaborators, and we are end-of-life doulas, and it's not despite the name it's not just to get involved when you are dying. We do a lot based on where you are in your life's journey, so it can be while you're still relatively young and healthy, but you just want to get things organized ahead of time and also just be more comfortable with the concept of death, to the other end of the extreme when those final moments are happening, but also supporting your loved ones with their own grief and anything in between. So please don't hesitate to ever reach out and ask us questions. We do provide 30 minutes free consultations just to hear what your needs may be. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Bach. I'm with, my company name is Fluid Senior Transitions. I'm an elder care planner. So what I do is I help people out of crisis situations, usually resulting from a hospital stay, can be otherwise. I also help people to transition into retirement living to provide you a third-party perspective and to give you, or to shorten the length of time that it might take you to choose one. Also help people to age in place at home, to provide the different supports and just to make you aware of the things that you might need within the home, you might need to do to the home, as well as help with aging plans. So if you want any more information about any of those things, please stop by and see me. I also do have some retirement living checklists with me today that were handed out when I did a presentation recently. So if you don't have one and you'd like one, come by and see me.
Hi, I'm Lori Meyer. I am from Parkland, Ancaster. We as well are a lifestyle retirement residence that has the full continuum of care, straight from retirement apartments all the way to supportive lifestyle. Come by and have a chat. We do have a holiday market coming up on November 22nd from 10 to 2, and there'll be tours that day as well. All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And again, they're great complement of services here and wonderful people. Not here as well in terms of our educational partners, it's Irene Jobut's 360 Downsizing, so she helps when you are in the middle of a move to get from here to there and what you do with your stuff. Elizabeth Rusin Thibodeau is with Burlington Neighborhood Health Team, another home care type of company. Again, we have different home care companies, we have different retirement homes. They are all different, so it's important that you find the one that works the best for you. And then lastly, in terms of educational partners, is Paul Cuttajar with Senior Care Access. They have an online directory of all different types of homes, retirement homes across the country, actually. So once again, thanks to everybody for your support. Thanks to Lisa and Ida, always here to lend a hand, help me get set up and get things organized. Couldn't do it without you. Thanks very much, appreciate you being here. And just in terms of a little bit of housekeeping, so just a reminder about the parking. So we are here on the honor system with the Burlington Art Gallery, and ask that if you parked in the back and you haven't paid $3 when you come in, you pay them $3 when you go out. It just would be very much appreciated. They're not charging us individually for the hour, but You have notepads on your place settings. Hopefully there's enough to go around so that at least you can share with someone that you're here with. Please do just jot down any questions you have. We will address the bulk of them at the end. Christine is going to, if there's some pressing questions that come up during the presentation, she will address them then, but ideally we'd like to have a good fulsome Q&A at the end. Please do turn your phones down, off, silent, just so we have minimized the disruptions. Can you folks at the back hear us okay? Yes, if at any time we drop the microphone and it's more difficult to hear, please just let us know, because it's important that everybody gets the full benefit of the presentation. I think that, oh sorry, just apologize for the, so in terms of the tables and chairs, so this is we've got the maximum number of tables that the art gallery has. So that's how we set up the room based on the number of people that we anticipate, but I apologize for you folks in the front. You don't have a place to lean your shoulders, lean your elbows, and to take notes, but that's a function of the space here, so we can't do anything more about that, but it's great that we have the ability to have some table and chairs for you. Just wanted also to announce that for our December session, just as we have had in the past years, we're going to be having a food drive, so if you are planning to come to the December session, please do bring along some non-perishable food items. I'll be sending out a list of what those items may be. Last year we had 2 huge bins full that we donated to the Burlington Food Bank, and we'd love to be able to do that again. And then also just in terms of Speaker Series is going to continue through 2026. We're happy to let you know that we've gotten together. We've got a great list of presenters and topics for you, and we will have an expo in April, just as we had in years past. So always the second Wednesday of the month, and always in this space. Those are just some ideas, some topic that we've got. So the reason we're here today is we're here to talk about planning our digital legacy, and what does that mean? So our activity online has increased significantly over the last several years, and most of us haven't even given that a single thought. We had a presentation, I don't remember when it was, in 2024, where Christine was here previously and talked to us about what happens to our digital imprint when we're no longer here, and how it lives in perpetuity or not, and how those who are looking after our affairs have some challenges in managing those assets. So Christine Brundsen she's been at the forefront of care planning and family and support issues for more than 25 years. She's a visionary innovator and took her own caregiving experiences and created a platform to ensure that people in her position were never without the resources she needed herself. She's the founder of a company called Trusted Legacy, and their goal is to prepare and organize your legacy, maximize the efficiency of your plan, and to minimize the risk of becoming a burden to those who will step into your shoes. So Christine is a bit of a jack of all trades. She's got her hands into lots of things and lots of vast array of experiences, and we're fortunate to have her with us today. So welcome, Christine.
Can everybody hear me okay? Yep. Okay, great. So thank you, Marion, because as Marion said, I was here before and I did present, and so I wanted to make sure I thanked you for having me back. And I understand that the reason I'm back here is because there was an overwhelming response to the last session, and people saying, we need to know more about digital assets and how to plan for these things. So my goal here today, the core message I want you to leave with, is that you don't need to finish this today, and this is never intended to allow you to come and finish your plan today, but you just need to start somewhere. So this is my gentle little nudge for you to get started. Because if you can imagine when you are no longer able to either articulate what you have and how to access it, you're going to have to make a plan for those who are going to step into your shoes, as I say,
to be able to access that information. So today we're going to walk through a little presentation about how to look at each of the different buckets and what you'll need to do in order to plan for each of those types of assets. I wanted this to be very interactive, and I had planned to produce a booklet for you. Unfortunately, my health had a little other plans for me in the last couple of months, and I've pinched nerves all down my spine, so I've been relatively unable to type, and so I've been relying on other people. And those people did not come through completely, so it is in the works. And what I will do is make sure that Marion has a copy of the booklet. And I had it generated, but it was not to my standards, so she'll have a copy of the booklet for you. We'll send it out to everybody who attended today. I'll make sure there's copies here for the next session, so for those of you that come back next session, you'll be able to pick up the copies of those booklets. And I'll make a special little thing for everybody as well to say that if you want to, come back, and Marion's got space at her office, if you want to come back and we run a session, maybe give a little bit more of my time and we start filling out these booklets even more, then we'll look at doing some of those sessions. But for now, with your pieces of paper that you have, and if anybody is missing paper, please let us know. I brought a ream of printer paper that you'll be able to use. So if you're not with or if you don't have paper, let us know. I'm going to guide you through this. It's going to be very simple. You're just going to basically write down the information, and then you can translate it back into the booklet. Because we're not going to certainly start. We're not going to do everything today. It's just meant to start. Okay? Everybody got that? Okay. As I'm going through, as Marion said, they want to try and keep questions to the end, but if you have a burning question and you have, the inability to remember that question at the end, or you just like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do here, can you give me more guidance? Let me know, because this is meant to be interactive. This is your session, not mine. So last time we talked about digital assets, and today we're actually going to start, again, doing something about those digital assets. So you can actually go forward here. Okay. We live our lives very much online now, and everything is an account, a login. You open your phone, it may be facial recognition that we're doing to log on to the phone. We don't realize the conveniences that we have today and what goes into making sure that you have access to all those conveniences, like online banking. It's access to your phone, your computer, it's all of your accounts, your emails, things like this. All the things that we actually log into that we take advantage of or take for granted every day, and we don't necessarily think about the login because a lot of it is automatic, it's on our phones. But how would someone access it if they didn't have our facial recognition, if they didn't have our password? And there's a lot of things they won't be able to access. We talked a lot about that last time, where just because someone has lost capacity or passed away, it doesn't mean that they then give up their privacy. Privacy still exists, and so you're gonna have to go through certain processes to get access to a lot of these things that we have that are online. So what are digital assets? These could be a number of different things. It could be photos on your phone. A lot of people do take, their phone is with them all times, so they do take a lot of photos on their phone. It can be emails or text messages. It can be your online banking and bill payments. It can be, I think Facebook is probably the most prevalent social media asset for most people here. So it could be your access to Facebook. It could be subscriptions. Maybe you have a subscription to Netflix or to Amazon Prime or any of these things where you have to have a login to get in. And more, it's two-factor authentication to get in as well. And even the devices themselves. So if you have a phone, there's you have to do something to get into that phone generally, unless you're leaving it unlocked, which most people should not do. It's not really safe to do that. So these are all considered digital assets. So what we're going to do in the room today is talk about the different types of digital assets, why it matters for us to be able to even do this, what is the reasoning behind creating a plan for all of these things. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start each section. This is not intended, as I said, this is not intended for you to come here and finish this today. This is just for you to get started and understand the reasoning behind it, because when you understand the reason why it's necessary to do these things, then you have a better understanding of what to do going forward. And it's gonna take some time. No one's gonna sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna dedicate today to get my plan done. It's just important that you get started and you chunk it out bit by bit. I think there's probably a good case study to actually say, hey, listen, I'm gonna be legacy ready in a year. Because it's gonna take some time to be able to put all this together. But we'll pause during the session and we'll help you kind of get these things started and start thinking about these different assets. So you'll leave with this simple plan, at least then it'll give you a head start. So go ahead. So in the first section of the booklet, it really is just who are you? Your name, your main email address, your phone number, and today's date, because what you have today is going to be different than what you may have a month from now, a year from now. And I would encourage everybody in this room to start this document, maybe be legacy ready in a year, and then once a year update. So that's why we want to have today's date, is we want to see what our starting point is.
So I just wanted to, I forgot to mention at the beginning, this session is being recorded, and I will send out the replay to everybody that's here that I have in my system. And also I will send a copy of the slide deck. So I see some of you taking pictures of the screen. There's no need to do that. Sure, go ahead if you'd like to, but you will get a copy of the slide deck with the following email.
And the booklet that I'm going to provide you is going to have all this information with like spaces for you to write this information in. So this is what we're after here, is just who are you, and how, like, what is your contact information. Okay. Has anybody ever heard of a trusted contact person? Have you ever been asked at the bank, do you have a trusted contact person? Can everybody raise their hands if they know what a trusted contact is? Wow, okay. I'm flabbergasted a little bit. I would have thought that, especially in this age group, the bank would have had more conversations around a trusted contact person. But again, for this context, your trusted contact person is potentially your power of attorney, your executor, or maybe somebody else within the family that you're going to entrust to be able to give this information to other people. What it is the person you're going to give your information to about where is this plan, how to access this plan. Because somebody's going to need to know where it is. If you all of a sudden don't have capacity, if you've passed away, someone's going to need to step up and say, oh, there's a plan for all the digital assets, and I know where it is, I know how to access it. So that's what we're talking about here. Who is that person, and what is their name, what's their contact information, and please tell them where the plan is kept. I would put a caveat in here and tell you, has anybody in this room ever been an executor? So, okay. If you're an executor and the person who's passed away has a safety deposit box in the bank, you may know or you may not know that when you go to the bank as an executor, you're going to be able to go in and list the contents, but you can't take anything out. So I would encourage you not to put this information in a safety deposit box. Right? And I mean, they can go in and they can like start writing, but they're probably not in a space of mind to go in and start recording everything that's in there. But like I said, you're able to go in, but you can't take anything out. You can only record what is in there. Once you get your application for like a certificate of appointment of a state trustee with a will, which could take 8 months in this jurisdiction, that's when you can go and take things out. Before that, you don't have authority. So I would encourage you to If you're not comfortable giving the password to these guys and these guys to someone, at least write it down, put it in an envelope, and let the person know these things are in an envelope, it's in this location, maybe it's in a home safe, maybe somewhere else in a desk somewhere, but let them know where the information is and what it will look like. I've had people take me through their home to say, listen, we're doing if something happens to me, if I get hit by a bus, walk through my house so you know where everything is. So make sure you know record where you put this information and tell them this is how you're gonna access it. So you can do that now. Do you know who your contact person is gonna be? Is there anybody without a contact person? That's encouraging. Okay, so if we all have a contact person, then again, let's write them down. I would say you don't have to write down your passwords now, but this is what you're gonna do, is you're going to be writing down the code to get in your phone, let's say, or the password to get in your computer, because they may need to be able to get into these devices in order to access some of the other things. Banking is one of those things where you're not gonna give someone your online banking access. You should give no one your online banking access. No one should ever ask you for it. If they're asking you for it, please hang up the phone. Or say goodbye, whatever. But don't give anybody any information about banking. And an executor will never need to go into your banking using your credentials. They should be going through the proper channels of going to the bank and getting proper access in the proper way. Okay, online accounts. How many people here have one email? Okay, leave your hand up if you have two. And leave it up again if you have three. Anybody have more than three? Okay, wow. All right, for the purposes of this, I would start with the most important one. Where do you get notifications of bills and all of your normal email that you might use for logging in to most of the things that you have, and what's the one that you're constantly monitoring that gets you notifications of your online activities? Again, it could be to subscriptions and things like that. Could be also to online banking. And then, how many people deal with one bank? Leave your hand up if you have two institutions you bank with. And three? Anybody with more than three? Your executor's gonna hate you. It's all right, don't worry about it. So for these, I would say, I think in the cases of banking, I want you to write down each of the banks you deal with. It's gonna be really hard. How many people actually get a statement still mailed to their home? Okay, that's great, actually. As an executor, and I've been one more than 100 times.
What?
Yeah, I'm a professional executor. One of the things that, and this was easier years ago. I mean, when I started in the business, it was 1997, and really at that time, nobody had online accounts. And it was very easy. You would walk into a home, you would go through all the drawers, the freezer. I know all the hiding spots, but you would go through the home, you would find all the things that you could find. So people who get things mailed to their home, they usually don't shred it. They usually keep some copies, so you'll find some of these things in their home. But not everybody has their mail delivered to their home with their bank statements, with their other accounts, specifically online accounts. There's a lot of those things that we don't get mail coming to our home for. So for those who have banks that they have information coming to the home, that's easy. And you can redirect the mail as the executor. You'll redirect the mail and you'll start getting all these things delivered to you. However, for those who don't, they're gonna need access to something online because you may get all of these things delivered to you via that email. So make sure that that email is written down so people know. Otherwise, you would have to, as an executor, your job would be to write to all the banks and say, I'm the executor of this estate, does this person hold any accounts with your institution? It's a very long and drawn out process, and you can't even apply for probate until you know what the assets are. So the more we can do to record this stuff, the better. Be a legacy ready. How many people in this room would say today they feel like they are legacy ready? That's kind of what I expected. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with writing the plan today, and let's carry on from here. These are things that you would want to keep safe in a folder, a binder. I find a lot of people in this age group like paper. Who likes paper? I'm loving you even more. And that you have somewhere that you keep these papers on a regular basis. Does the person who you trust know where you keep your papers? That would be a great thing. But keeping it safe as well, so that not just somebody who is coming in providing care can have these things open and accessible to them. So I would say make sure that if you are a paper person, you're keeping the papers safe. If you're in a retirement residence or somewhere that people may come in to help you, make sure you're tucking things away. That's kind of you make yourself an easy target if you leave certain information out and lying around for people to readily access. So we don't want to do that. And again, always tell your trusted person where things are. Does everybody have a spot that they could say, yeah, I can keep all of my things safe in this spot? Who has that spot? Quite a number. Okay. So it could be anything. It could be a filing cabinet, it could be a home safe, it could be some sort of drawer, but again, making sure you tell somebody who is going to be in that position, in your shoes, as I say, where things are. Let's go. This is really starting the plan today, but this is certainly not an exhaustive plan by any means, and the booklet that I'm going to give you has access to a lot more than what is here today. And the last time that I was here, we actually did a whole presentation on the various different assets that someone might have out there. We went through back through the previous one here. So we did email accounts. We also last time talked about Google Inactive Account Manager. Does anybody have a Gmail? Has anybody ever set up settings that Google emails you on a regular basis when you haven't accessed your account in a period of time, and they say, hey, are you still using this account? Okay, so there are Google Inactive Account Manager settings. The last presentation we went through how to set that up. Some people say it's a good idea, some people say, well, the person you name to be able to access, because in the Inactive Account Manager settings, what you're doing is you're telling Google, if you don't hear from me when you send me that email, there's a period of you set the parameters, but there's notification that then goes out to the trusted person that you've named, and they'll ask that person, hey, what's going on? Is this person still alive, still using this account? What's happening? And there's a certain period of time, and then you also can set settings that say, if something has happened to you, what access is that person allowed to have to information? What can they access? What can't they access? How long can they access the information? So you would set up all these parameters as part of the Google Inactive Account Manager settings. The other one would be for different social media platforms, things like Facebook. Has anybody dedicated a legacy contact in their Facebook account? You've thought about it? Okay. What has kept you from naming someone? At least she's honest. I would say probably for a lot of people, it's like, how do I do it? Does anybody know how to do it? Never heard of it?
Why? Why do it?
Why would you do it? So the question, again, this is going to prompt you to say, oh, it's not important to me, or it is. Facebook gives you two options when you pass away. You can either memorialize this account. You may have seen some of these accounts where people have passed away and the account is memorialized, so people can still go and look at some of the content that's there, drop in certain messages and things like that, but it's not a full account with full access to everything. So that's called memorializing an account. The other option is deactivating your account. So your online presence is deactivated and it's not there once you passed away. Interesting, let's do a little study. How many people would still want their Facebook account to be living online after they passed away? Okay. I assume then the rest of you would want it deactivated, is that right? Interesting, and I did give this stats on this in the last session, is that by the year 2130, there will be more deceased people on Facebook than living. Given that Facebook is largely a marketing platform and selling platform, I don't know how well that's going to work out for them at that stage, but in any case, there will be all these accounts online, and if you want that managed appropriately, then setting up, again, that legacy contact. I do have mine set up. I'm sure my sister's not going to like the fact that she's got all these notifications coming. She's also appointed as a legacy contact in my iPhone, and so I'm sure she gets all these notifications, and she probably says, well, she'll give me more information later. Again, the shoemaker's children, or shoemaker's family, myself, don't always have proper shoes. I'm so busy that I often forget to update, but I do a lot of other updating. I keep very good care of business assets, because that's the ones I'm most worried about in it right now anyway. Also, your internet provider at home, like who's that? Did you record that somewhere, right? That information should be noted as well. How many people have their ongoing bills that they get on a monthly basis, whether it be your gas, your hydro, your internet provider, all of these normal bills that we have, how many people have those bills coming to their home still?
As many as I can.
As many as they'll allow you to keep having the bills come in paper format. Then some are saying, no, it has to be electronic.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea for all of these bills. So I want you to put yourself in the shoes of an executor. Many of you have been that executor before. If I'm an executor, the one thing I'm gonna have to do in order to figure all this stuff out is I'm gonna have to get my paperwork together, go to the bank, and I'm gonna have to ask for probably a year's worth of bank statements. And I'm gonna have to go line by line to figure out, well, what are all the companies I need to contact? Who gets payments from the person who's passed away? Is it Netflix? Is it Cogeco? Is it Rogers? Who is getting all of the payments on a regular basis? Are those payments automatic? You know, you're gonna have to notify each of those companies. You can do it that way, where you're gonna have to do it that way anyway. Executor's gonna have to go back through, because not everybody is keeping all these things up to date. But that is an enormous job for a lot of people. And for the lady who said she has more than 4 accounts, that's where I'm saying, yeah, that person's, they're your mother's?
Oh, my mother has 3 investment companies, 4 banks, you name it.
Okay, so what, if I heard you correctly, she was referring to her mother, who has several investment accounts and many more bank accounts and investments and maybe other things at banks, maybe at GICs at different banks. Again, so that's very difficult. Unless you've written that list down somewhere, then that person, the person who steps into your shoes is gonna have a harder time. And those bills, again, so knowing, I have a much greater organizer than what I'll provide you through after this session today on digital assets. I also keep another, it's probably about 80 pages. It would overwhelm most people, but not everything is going to be relevant to every person. I do put things about intellectual property in there. I put things, really anything that may have a perceived value or needs to be dealt with on my DAF. It's all in there. But one of the things that's important when you're talking about bills and companies is, do you go online and pay the bill, or is the bill automatically withdrawn from the bank account on a regular basis? So I do put a little extra line in there, a little checkbox to say, yeah, this bill is paid online automatically, or this one is not. And it's just so that whoever has to step into my shoes knows who they're contacting and what they have to basically stop or say, okay, because you really can't pay a whole lot. There's not a lot of bills that you pay after death because you don't have access to money until you are gone through the court process of confirming your executor. So this is what we call probate, but it's actually got a much longer name. It's a certificate of appointment of a state trustee with a will. Can you tell lawyers get paid by the word? So I think, it could be a long time, and there could be a whole number of companies, and you want to contact these people and let them know so-and-so's passed away. The money's not going to go through the bank account. We want to cancel this because they don't need it anymore. We need to keep this. There's going to have to be a yin and a yang there about what's kept and what's canceled. Many things could be canceled. I didn't talk about password managers. Does anybody have a password manager? Like 1Pass or anything like that? Yeah. So a password manager is usually an app where you can manage all of your passwords. So you do. So giving access to that password manager to the trusted person is also something that you want to do in the document, and that it makes its way in the booklet as well. We talked last time about apps and accounts, and I've talked a little bit about that. I don't think there's much more I can say other than record a lot of the things. A place to get started, if I was starting this from scratch, one of the things that I would do would be open my phone. Okay? Open my phone. Now, mine looks craziness, but I open my phone and I see a whole bunch of apps. Mine are all organized into folders, but if you open those folders, so my social networking folder is this one, so I can go through and I can start recording just by what apps are on my phone, some of the online things that I have. When you're banking, you may have a couple of different banking apps in there. That's a good place to get started, is just open up your phone, look at what you have on your phone and start recording from there. Let's go to questions. Okay, so the question was, if I heard it correctly, do you trust on these online password managers? Was that? Okay. So they do have amazing encryption. They are supposed to be very secure. I haven't really heard of many breaches, and we have, like, Carrie's here today too. She's kind of a counterpart to me in this. She does a lot more probably state administration than I take on these days, but have you heard of anything with password managers and any sort of no breaches? I mean, if we go by that, I guess I haven't heard, Carrie hasn't heard of any. I haven't heard anything in the news on password managers. Again, it's one of those things like, who are you giving the information to? Do you really trust that person? That's maybe where I might see some of those things crop up, especially when you've got an aging person who may be exhibiting signs now of diminishing capacity, and they may, I guess in my career where I've seen this happen would be, they end up trusting someone who seems trustable, and that person really has alternate intentions, and they just didn't recognize that those intentions were there. I think this is probably going to be a real growing area, is elder abuse, financial abuse. A lot of people do trust, and oddly enough, it's usually a family member. And the other stat is that it's usually male. But you know, it's not. There's no rhyme or reason to who and why, and relationships can be strained. You may give the information to somebody and then forget that you've given them the information, and you don't want them to have it anymore. So that's a good reason why you want to change. Like if you're making substantial changes to your plan and the people that you trust, change your passwords. There were a couple other questions. Go ahead.
Oh yes, trusted loved ones. I've shared my password and pins and anything that I need to share to allow access to my financial matters with a loved one. And I'm particularly comfortable with two-step verification. So with two-step verification, I don't use email for the second step, no. I use my cell phone. Emails can be hacked. Cell phones can't be hacked for the two-step verification process. So I'm very, very comfortable keeping my life simple with my financial affairs and trusting a beloved loved one who knows that I use only two-step verification with my smartphone, and he knows where to go if need be. Keeps my phone very simple. Any caveats in regards to that statement?
So, kind of a little bit. One of the things that most people here should know is that you should never share your online password or your password to tap your accounts or insert your chip and put in the password. So that never is supposed to be shared, never supposed to be written down. The caveat here is if you have a loss in one of your bank accounts and that information was made available through slipping it into your wallet and the password was there, most of the banks will not cover those losses because you participated in being scammed by writing down your password and having it available in your wallet. I don't know about the security of cell phones and if somebody's ever broken into a cell phone or accessed people's information that way, but I would just be, again, very careful. We have to, for banking, I would definitely not share that information. If somebody needs to access my banking, there's specific protocols built at the banks for them to be able to do that. And they're gonna have to prove to the bank that they are either A, my power of attorney, and my power of attorney is live from the moment that I sign it, and they have full access to do everything that I can do myself except make a will. So as a power of attorney, they're gonna have to prove that they have my power of attorney and that it's valid. As an executor, they're gonna have to prove, again, that they are the executor and they have the authority to act. So they're gonna have to produce documentation. They're probably gonna work with my lawyer in order to produce that documentation. I feel more secure about that. So I personally don't share any online banking, and I will tell you, I went through my own loss situation this year, and it was horrible. I had my wallet stolen out of my purse at Costco. As I was going through the checkout, about an hour after, I was still there trying to figure things out and close down all my, lock everything up. And I got a call from Scotiabank, Scotia and bank being separated, not together. And no one has my personal cell phone number. I don't know how they got it, but it was the perpetrators. And they were like, well, okay, well, we're gonna do this, and it was a whirlwind at the time, and so there ended up being some loss. But, and lucky for me, there was coverage just because of the situation, but in a lot of cases, that would not, it depends on who you bank with, depends on the situation, but there are a lot of banks who would not cover those kinds of losses. So I would be very careful about online banking, access to banking. You don't know who is gonna do what and when, and don't know who's gonna become, maybe, in a situation where they need money. It's just, for me, I wouldn't do it.
I have two sons who are RCMP, and I have not trusted things to, password managers or things like that. And both of them assured me that on phones, your passwords are all encrypted and it is probably the safest thing you can do. I'm still reluctant because I'm old and very cautious, and I live alone. And so they still feel that I'm okay to do that, but I do it selectively.
Good for you.
I shouldn't have worn my heels today, guys, sorry.
Hi, Christine, I just wanted to add to password manager is also the same word as passwords, wherever it keeps your passwords for anything you have, correct? So I have both because sometimes digitally it's easier, they want the password for that, but I can't use the same password, so copy and paste. But I agree with your banking, don't keep that online. But I also have a paper book that's just passwords, and I put it in there as well. My question to you is, passwords being the same. So even in Password Manager, it tells you same, keep changing them. So that's why it's so hard as we age or don't age to remember all the different passwords that we have to have. So I still go with the paper, but the digital for access when I'm actually using the device.
Yeah, so what can happen with digital as well is that it can produce a strong, you ever try and type a password in and that gives you not strong enough, right? There's a really good meme for this where it's actually Michael, I think it's Michael McDonald out of the UK that talks about this, is in the beginning we would come up with a word and the word was fine. And then all of a sudden that wasn't fine, and so we had to add a number. So we had the word plus the number 1. And then that wasn't good enough, so then they said, well, we had to add a special character. So most of us went with the word and 1 and an exclamation point or something like that. But there are ways of your devices generating strong passwords, and then that actually gets saved. I don't know if you ever tried opening something and you go to put your username in, and then the password manager kind of comes up and fills in your password. So there's a lot of these things online, and there are different password managers that you can have access to. They're usually a paid service, actually. The 1Pass and those types of password managers are usually a paid service. The other ones that are just on your phone are generally part of the phone's functionality. they'll oftentimes generate a strong password for you and then save it. The only problem would be if if something happens and your phone is wiped or something, then you're gonna have to go through and say, I forgot my password, and go through all the rigmarole of getting, sent a new link and changing passwords, that kind of thing.
If I have written down everything that you're talking about, so all my banks that I deal with, what is at each bank, all the bills that I pay, how frequently they're paid, which I have. If I get something that doesn't send me a hard copy, first thing I do is print it, have a hard copy. So is it necessary to do anything at all online or give any passwords to a trusted person at any point if I have that list that would encompass everything?
So if you have that, well, first of all, congratulations, because you're an anomaly. I don't know, were you an engineer or a teacher?
No, in banking.
See, it's always the bankers. So again, congratulations. And do you need to go further than that? No, as long as the trusted person knows where that book is being kept and where they can access it, that's really all you need.
So just talk a little bit more about trusted person versus POA and why would there be a difference, and should there be a difference?
Okay, this is can of worms. That's okay. The banks introduced something called that TCP, the Trusted Contact Person. Carrie, do you remember what year that was? Before I left. So at least in the last 10 years, right? What they were looking for is someone they could contact if you started to do things that were out of character for you, right? This is someone that they could call and say, hey, what's up with Marion? She's doing things that she wouldn't normally do. Is she okay? Has she been experiencing any illness? Have you seen anything out of the norm? Has she been to the doctor recently? Is there anything there that would suggest that maybe her capacity is somewhat waning? And then they can have that conversation. But the trusted contact person, so when you list that person and sign off on that trusted contact person, it means that that institution or whoever you've given authority with the trusted contact person, it means that if they're seeing things that are out of character, they would be able to contact the trusted contact person. Does the trusted contact person have ability to do things on your behalf? No. They can't do anything, they just can provide information. If that person is also your named power of attorney, then there would be a conversation there about, okay, well, is the person's capacity now being challenged to a point where they need someone to step in? Maybe that's the case. Most people will not just step in and be a power of attorney without some sort of verification that the person doesn't have capacity, unless it's a situation where, oh gosh, I name you as my power of attorney, I'm flying off to Geneva and I have a real estate sale going through. You may have seen this before. And I'm gonna need you to sign these documents, but nowadays everything is signed generally virtually anyway, so it doesn't really matter for most cases. But that's that situation where if you have a live power of attorney, it's called a continuing power of attorney that's not in a springing form, using some technical terms here, but as long as the power of attorney is live, and usually between spouses, it's generally live, so that the spouse can step in and do whatever they need to do, except again, they can't make a will on the person's behalf. So that means that person can come in and step in and do things. Trusted contact person cannot, they can give information. Sometimes you'll have the same person, sometimes maybe the person you trust as your power of attorney or you've named as power of attorney is not the same person that's going to be this trusted contact person who's going to provide that information. It could be a friend who knows you really, really well, but you don't necessarily want them to be running your banking and all of your affairs and managing your investments and these kinds of things. but they do know you quite well and they're able to provide that information. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have the mic.
There.
Oh, good.
A few years ago, my daughter went into the bank with me and explained, you know, she has power of attorney, as does her brother, but explained that she's been the one more caregiving for me. And what would be the best way for her to be able to access funds or do, and they had her sign up for a client card. So she has her own client number, she makes her own password, and so I figured that's a safety, and that card is kept in a file that her husband knows, and so he's the back checker. The son didn't want to do it.
Yeah, so anything like that where it's a different client card, so the bank can track everything, right? They know who logs in with what credentials from what, what's the name of that? Where they can tell which IP address, right? So they can track all of those things. So it is a good idea to have, like, nobody should enter your banking with your credentials. Full stop. You should be the only one entering your banking with your information, your bank card, your password, your PIN. It's for you. And if you need to give access to somebody else, they should have their own way of accessing through a power of attorney, a separate card. And if you are something where you can control that, if you're saying, hey, listen, I'm good until I'm not, and you could even put that in the power of attorney. So those springing forms of power of attorney say, you can't do anything unless I've been deemed incapable by a qualified medical practitioner. That means that a doctor or a capacity assessor is the one who has to come and assess my capacity and then give a written recommendation saying, no, she can't run her own affairs anymore. But remember, capacity is like, there's a whole list of levels of capacity, and the capacity to manage one's financial affairs is different from the capacity to marry. Capacity to marry is a lower, so you can get married, but you can't manage your own bank accounts. This is why we have issues with second marriages and all that stuff.
We have a question here, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. You were talking about someone at a bank asking about a client's ability. I want to know the address of that bank.
This happens all the time because you've named a trusted contact person. It is a. Okay, I'm going to give you a real live example of this, okay? So Olive goes into the bank, and Olive is going to pay her Burlington Hydro bill today. So she pays the Burlington Hydro bill. On Friday, Olive goes into the bank, and she's going to pay her Burlington Hydro bill. Bank might go, well, Olive, you already paid it. Oh, that's right, I forgot. And Olive goes back into the bank next week on Tuesday and says, I'm here to pay my Burlington Hydro bill. At this point, the bank now has a bit of a feeler up, and if there is a trusted contact person, Olive is now doing something. Maybe Olive paid her Burlington Hydro bill once a month for years, and she went into the bank to pay it. But now she's doing things that are not consistent with her normal activities. And if she has a trusted contact person named, the bank does have that ability. They may have a conversation with her about it first and say, Olive, I've noticed that you came in to pay your bill, and then, you came in to pay it again, and you've now here the third time and you want to pay the bill. Maybe can we have a conversation with your trusted contact person about what might be going on? Oh, sure. Yeah, I trust Sue. And yeah, let's have a conversation with Sue. And that's where these things happen, and maybe it is a case. I would hope. It's not to say that all of a sudden you're not able to do anything anymore, but it's at least the conversation to say, what's going on? Maybe Olive has a urinary tract infection, and there's something else going on there. But it's not to say that all of a sudden Olive doesn't have access to her accounts anymore and can't do the things that she would do, and that the power of attorney all of a sudden steps in and starts acting. Right? There's a discussion about what is going on with Olive.
Sorry, just to give another example, with the romance scams that are happening, this is another way for us to protect you. If you come into the bank and you pull 17 grand out of your RIF to give to somebody in Africa, right? Like, we want you to not do that. So this is a way for the bank to say, hey, you haven't taken out more than 2 grand out of this account your whole life. Now you're asking for this huge amount. Like, is everything okay? I've heard a couple times people have wanted to use it for like cryptocurrency or some other things that they saw like Justin Trudeau promote online. So like, you know, we want someone to kind of, you know, check in on you if you're doing these big taking out of your money that you haven't done in the past.
I have a real life example of that as well.
Yeah.
So I have a client who I was named power of attorney for, and I told her, I said, this is very temporary. You need to find somebody else. I'm not doing it. Please do that as soon as possible, which she did. But in the meantime, things had happened, and her advisor knew that I was originally named as power of attorney. He reached out to me and said, she's been to the bank. She's taken out, over the course of the last month, about $30,000 to buy various different gift cards. The bank has reduced her access in branch. She's no longer able to access any more than $1,000 at a time, but she goes to the bank machine at night with the neighbor to get the money to go to Dollarama to buy the gift cards to send to the boyfriend who's gonna come to Canada and marry her. It is these situations where your normal advisors and banking persons want to protect you and will step in and say, what's happening? What can we do to protect her? Let's have a conversation with her power attorney. They had to do some workarounds to figure out who that named power attorney was, and that power attorney wasn't really available. And so these things had proliferated over time, and before it finally got shut down. But these are the things where you would want somebody to potentially protect you. And for her, it was just, this person found her because her husband had passed away. She's on Facebook. He all of a sudden started friending her and wooing her, and you know, she was very lonely. She liked the attention, and she really did feel like he was gonna come to Canada and they were gonna get married and have this wonderful relationship.
Yes, just a couple of questions I'd like your thoughts on. One is, as opposed to writing everything down in a detailed plan, you know, all the stuff that you talked about, which is important to have, rather than having it written and then try to figure out a safe place to hide it in the house that has obvious risks. Can you comment whether a secure USB drive that you can save things to, and obviously, again, even that you'd probably want to have in a safer place, but if someone did find it, if it has a password on it, they're very hard to break into. So that's, if you could maybe comment on that. And then the other question maybe is related to keeping very large balances in checking or savings accounts versus maybe putting them in, you know, wealth management side where there's a wealth manager and they're, you know, they won't move money. You can't move it online. You have to really reach out to the wealth manager, and so there's a degree of safety there, I think. Just comments on those. Thank you.
Sure. Love the comment about the protected USB. I do that with all my clients. So where we create these inventories, we usually create them online with the USB stick, so it's easier to update things without scratching and having to reprint reams of paper. So we do exactly that, and when it comes, they get the USB, we protect it, and it has all those inventories on it. So I love that idea. Again, keeping it in a secure place, maybe somewhere that has under a lock and key, or a safe of some sort that you give somebody the details to enter, would be a great idea. What you mentioned is something that I talk about a lot when I talk about estate planning. there is real safety in keeping your bank account balances low enough that they run your normal day-to-day banking on a monthly basis, but not so high that if something happens, you're at risk of losing a lot of money. And not only that, that whole conversation we had about advisors and them recognizing when you're doing things that are out of character, I would say most banking people, very trustworthy. Would you agree? And they're really looking out. They're looking out for you. They want you to keep investing. That's how they get paid. So they want you to try and keep as much of your money as they can, so they can continue managing that money. So they're going to notice when things like this are going awry, or you coming in and asking for a big chunk of money. Generally, there's a conversation. Oh, so what brought you in today, Alex? Oh, well, I'm withdrawing X amount of money for this. Well, if they're hearing, I'm withdrawing $10,000 so I can go to Fortino's and get a bunch of gift cards because my lover is on the way from Nigeria and I need to make sure he's got enough money to get his way through, they can say, hang on a second, Alex, like, let's think about this logically. You know, this would not be typically the way that things would happen. You know, there's other ways that people don't fly based on gift cards to whatever. So having that conversation with someone, or having an extra check and balance. Let's say you have lost capacity and you have a power of attorney in place, and the power of attorney has to ask for money. Listen, most perpetrators are perpetrators that happen when somebody has power of attorney, and it could be innocuous. It could be like something has cropped up and they're like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna borrow a couple $1,000 from them and I'll pay it back next month. If you're in a situation where you keep your bank account balances low and they have to go and ask the advisor to top up the account, they're gonna say what the money is for. It's gonna create some thought process there, and they're gonna be like, oh, I can't really do that because the advisor is gonna know that I'm asking for this money and they're gonna ask me what it's for. You know, I have to have a reason, and then all of a sudden the lies have to become bigger. When the lie has to become bigger, it should have an effect where it kind of stops the person to say, yeah, well, somebody else is looking in on me. There's a big brother, if you will. I'm not gonna do those things because I know that there is somebody looking in. But for people that don't have that, there's more of a risk of it happening. So you're right.
Just to by the by, with a financial advisor, you usually need 2 business days for anything to happen.
Yeah. If you're selling investments, generally it's T plus 2 or whatever it is. They have to take some time to raise the cash as well. Yes. I'll go here first because the mic is here, and then please pass the mic behind you.
With respect to Facebook accounts, how do you deactivate account when the person is already deceased?
So when you name that legacy contact in Facebook, and maybe what I should do is
not named. If they're not named,
yep.
If there's no name,
okay,
and the person is already deceased, and they have a Facebook account, how do you get it deactivated? As the spouse, how do you get it deactivated?
Yeah, so there's a lot of accounts that have not been deactivated, and I haven't been doing a state administration recently enough to know that if I bring documents to Facebook, will they actually, with the proper documentation, deactivate the account? I'm not sure. Does the account just sit there?
I happen to know that answer. You need a death certificate, and you send it to Facebook. Yes. Yes.
And it could be, I don't know, I know it happened this way before, but generally you need a court order to deal with certain assets, digital assets here in Canada, and the laws are different. Digital asset laws in Canada are different than the ones in the States. Sometimes they want a court order to deal with certain things. It may not be in the case of deactivating the account, but if you need access to the account for some reason, It could be that you need a court order in the US in order to access that account.
Not with Facebook though, but other things.
How much do you think we should keep in a checking account that's liquid?
So that is different for everybody. Depends on what your normal monthly expenses are and how much, you don't wanna have to be talking to your advisor on, or maybe you could have the advisor set up automatic top-ups to the account on a regular basis. The comfort level is different for everybody. Some people might be comfortable with 10,000. Other people say, no, I need to have a solid $50,000 in my account in order for me to feel comfortable. Some people might say, I'd be comfortable around 25. I tend to say to people, especially if we're doing other types of estate planning and we've got a trust set up that basically holds everything and we're only keeping our working accounts outside, I would say go to the bank and ask them how much you can have in this account before it's going to require probate to deal with it, and leave that amount in there. In some cases it's 50, in some cases it might be a little bit less, but most banks will not require you to get probate to deal with a small balance account.
Hi, I just had a question I was hoping you could clarify. A couple of months ago, I was dozing, my eyes were closed. I have facial recognition throughout my phone for most of my passwords. I love it, it's fast, it's easy. My son took my phone, put it around my face. My eyes were closed and it opened my phone and it's got access. I mean, he was kidding around, but it had access to all my passwords. Is that, I had no idea that would happen and that was accessible. I could be dead and somebody could put my phone to my face. Can you comment on that? Is that something?
Where's Sarah? So
yes?
I heard that facial recognition after death does not actually work. Can you comment on that, Sarah?
It has worked sometimes, not for everybody. The fingerprints worked every time. But we have put cameras up to deceased individuals. Sorry guys. We have had to do that a few times.
I had a concern about I actually never heard about the trusted contact person, but they obviously have very little power to do anything. And if a bank called me and said I was a trusted contact person and so, I do not feel comfortable in providing the bank with detailed information about somebody who's maybe a friend of mine, a loved one, or whatever. And what are they going to do with it either? The fact you said they could pull back on what you would be allowed to take out of your own bank account also scares me. This is my money. And they don't have any right in my mind to tell me how much or when I could take any of it out. I understand people are getting scammed. I know somebody, a good friend of mine who was. The bank didn't do anything when she asked for $8,000. And, then proceeded to get in Bitcoin. So all of this is, to me, is like a bit of a violation of the person trusted. And this trusted contact person, really, what are they good for? Other than feeding the bank personal information that I don't feel is even their business.
You have to authorize the TCP. If you don't want one, you don't have to have one. Right? You could say, no, I'm not comfortable, not gonna have a trusted contact person. In the case of that individual, she didn't have a trusted contact person. And it was the bank's conversations with her, and they basically said to her, you're being scammed. We are not, so there could be some liability on the bank if they didn't have that conversation. Right? So they're trying to cover their butt. Listen, every bank out there is all about risk management. And they're gonna try and minimize their risk by having these conversations with you and then telling you, listen, if you're not gonna listen to us, we are gonna limit how much our staff is gonna give to you when you come in here. Now, what you do outside of that, if you're gonna go and do all these bank machine withdrawals, like, they can't police everything. But in this particular person's, because they had conversations with her, they were very worried, and the person who was taking her, they had a conversation with that person, with her there as well, and she said, I'm worried about her. I'm worried about what's going on, but she obviously feels that this is the thing, and they said, well, you know, this is what then they told her, this is what we're doing. We're not gonna do that. I've been brought into other situations. Recently, I was brought into a situation with a lawyer, because the bank had questions about the person acting as power of attorney, and the person who was caregiver, and the family. There was a big thing going on, and they did not give the person their proceeds of their GIC until it could be verified that they did have capacity, because they were worried about all this going on, and so the lawyers came in. There was a big to-do about it, and it turned out he did have capacity, and they did finally allow the proceeds to go. But this is a big problem for banks, and I don't think that any bank really has this figured out completely. They're trying to figure out what to do as time goes on, and more of these scam things come up, and they're trying to protect their clients. But it's different. It could be different from bank branch to bank branch. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no overarching law on all of these things right now. I mean, the banks are just trying to do their best to protect their client, and there's some banks that are much more risk adverse than others.
I'd like to ask about the auto payments. I have it set up now so that all my bills that come due every month are automatically paid. So I can travel, but also if I lose the capacity to stop those payments, I'm concerned about that. So what's the minimum legal requirement to stop payments, especially if you have power of attorney or executrix? What do they have to do to stop those payments? Because if you don't, the company keeps taking the payment, and what's the process to get those payments back if you're not using it?
So this is why the power of attorney executor need to step in and act quickly. Don't pick the child or the person in your life who has ADHD and can't executive function to get things done. They're procrastinators. Don't pick those people. Also, the oldest child, just because you're the oldest child doesn't mean you meet the criteria that you're best for the job. I mean, I had that phone call recently. Actually, the bank was calling me and they said, oh, we're gonna name all three of you on your mom's account. That's what she wants to do, and we're calling you first. Are you okay with having 34% and the other two having 33? I'm like, really? I don't care. But, you know, these types of situations that you're talking about, there's no limits on there's no limits on what amounts. It's all driven by documentation. So if I have a power of attorney, I take my power of attorney, I go to the bank and I say, I'm now acting as power of attorney for this individual. That individual can't act for themselves. That means that I'm gonna do everything for them going forward. And they should be starting to take active inventories about these things. What's going through the account? Should I continue this? Should I not? You know, what are the things the person really needs? Are we moving them? Are they, you know, not gonna be living at home anymore and we've got all these other bills that need to be canceled? You need somebody who has the time and the know-how and the energy to be able to step in and do all the things as a power of attorney or as an executor, and they should be acting quickly. It's not, oh, well, I'll deal with it later. Everything that an executor and a power of attorney do, they could be called a task for under a court of law. Yeah.
Thanks very much, and I'm sorry if you have more questions, we're just gonna ask that you come and talk to Christine after the session. We're at 3 o'clock, so just with respect to your time, just wanted to make sure that we adhere to our stop time. So again, thanks very much, Christine. Very enlightening. You frauds and scams. So you'd be happy to know that in January, our president, we're going to kick off the year strong with a presentation with a guy named Dave Oswald, and his company's called Forensic Restitution. So he's the guy that's on the other side that unravels frauds and scams. So it'll be a really interesting presentation and lots to learn from there. So we're on the right track, but there's always lots to learn. So this slide is here all the time. Plan ahead. I think Christine, you talked to that in spades, and here's just another plan to add to your plan list. As I said earlier, this session is being videotaped, so it will be available. I will post it on the Power and Speaker Series website, and I will send you a link to the video replay. The email system that I'm using, I had a little bit of trouble with it this month, and perhaps that explains why I don't have the same number of people in my list as what's here today. It seems to be not cooperating with some email addresses, and I think it may be when I have too many links or too many files attached, some of you, it's not making it through to your email boxes. So if you're not getting something from me, you have my contact information is all over the place. Please let me know, because I don't want to make, I want to make sure that you get the things that you've asked for and that I promised to give you. So just keep an eye on that. But nonetheless, the session will be up on the website in a week or two. And once again, thanks very much to all our educational partners. And earlier, I forgot to mention Neela White. She's with Raymond James. She's not here today, so she would be the one to answer some of our financial planning questions. But take advantage of these folks. They're here to help in any way they can. Next session again on Wednesday, December the 10th. Just in time for the holidays and for Christmas, how to care for yourselves and others over the holidays, and then also the food drive. Yeah, don't forget to bring in some food. Once again, thanks very much for coming.